The world is changing. Nothing ever stays the same. You don't need me to tell you that, but in life, it goes up and it goes down. Now that's all right, that's life, that's what we expect, but there's the external world, which you can't control, and then there's the internal world, which you think you can't control. And what I mean by the internal world is we have emotions. In other words, we react to things that are happening to us, right? That's called emotions. And emotions are great because you can feel joy, happiness, excitement, passion, every emotion you can possibly imagine, you get to experience it. It's called being alive. Now, if your life's good, you'll feel good. But what if it's not? What if you feel a bit crap? What if you feel a bit bad? What if your emotions, instead of being high, they become very low? And the most powerful negative emotion that any human being can have is what? You guessed it, it's fear. Fear is the most powerful negative emotion that I have and you have. Nothing comes close to fear. Now you're like this. What would happen if we could get rid of fear? Now you might say, well, you can't do that. Well, I'm going to tell you something that you might not know. You can get rid of fear. You can get rid of your fear if you understand what fear is. And in this video, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Analyzing the news.
Okay, let's talk about fear. Fear is something that we've all felt, and we usually feel it at least once a week. Sometimes, some people, if they're traumatized, they can feel it constantly. They're constantly in a state of fear, and fear is just another word for anxiety. So if you're an anxious person, you could just reframe that and say, I'm in a constant state of fear. That's what anxiety is. And it's heavy, and it's depressing, and it's low vibration, and it makes you want to survive instead of thrive. So it's not a good idea to play around with this fear. In other words, it's not a good idea to sit in it. What is a good idea is to get bloody rid of it. And that's what we're going to do. Now, if you don't know what fear is, which obviously I'm sure you do, it's the fight or fight feeling in your chest, or that rush of energy when something scares you. It could be a kind of noise or a near accident, or even something like maybe speaking in public. Shyness. What's shyness? It's a state of fear. We have to be aware that fear is completely natural. It's your body's way of keeping you safe. It's not always bad, but it can hold us back if we don't learn how to control it, and we can control it. So where does this fear come from? Well, it starts off first in the brain. It starts off in the brain. The part of the brain that controls fear is called the amygdala. You can think of this like a smoke alarm. When it senses danger, if it's real or not, it goes off fast. It sends signals to the rest of your body to get ready for action. It's like a fight or flight response. Now, this part of your brain doesn't think things through. Its job is to speed things up, not logic. It reacts quickly to anything it thinks is a threat. That's why if someone suddenly stands behind you and surprises you, you're like, whoa! It's an automatic response. It's not analytical. You don't think about it. You react. For example, let's look at this. Let's say you see a stick on the ground, but your brain thinks it's a snake. That part of your brain doesn't wait to check, is it a snake or is it a stick? You react. It just sounds the alarm in your brain that it's a threat. Have you ever done that? You see something, you go, whoa, and it makes you jump, and then you look at it again and go, oh, it's not what I thought it was. But again, your brain reacts because it's trying to keep you safe. See, it's easy, this, isn't it, once you understand what fear is. Right, so let's look at this. What happens in the body during this process called fear? Once the alarm goes off, your body kicks into, again, the fight or flight response, or fight or flight mode. Now, when this happens, your heart beats faster, your breathing speeds up, your muscles get tense, and you can often start sweating. Your pupils go bigger, so you can see better. This all happens at an unconscious, automatic, reactive level. You're not consciously aware of this, it's just happening. It's a reaction, if you like. That's why when people get scared, what do? They overreact. And what do we say to them people? Calm down, take a breath, calm down. And they're in a state of fear, panicking all the time. They can't help it. It's a reactive mode. And you react to it because you're a human being. Harley! Harley! I'm out with the dog again. Harley, come on, mate. He's a good boy. Now, all of these things happen in seconds. Your body is getting ready to either run from danger or stand and fight it. Again, fight or flight response. This reaction in the past helped our ancestors to survive. If a lion was nearby, fear told them to move fast. But we don't live in the jungle anymore. We live in cities and towns, and there's no predators trying to kill us. But we've still got that emotional biochemistry response inside us that's reacting to what we perceive as threats. But really, there's no threats. That's why you shouldn't watch the news, because the news contrives to frighten you. In other words, it terrifies you, even though it's not real. You shouldn't watch the news. If it's going to make you react in a fearful way, which the news bloody does, then don't watch it, because now you're experiencing fear even though it's not real, because you're just watching it on the TV. It's ludicrous. But from a biological aspect, it's still having that effect on your body, which is not good, because technically you're conditioning yourself, you're programming yourself to become more reactive in the sense of fearful, and you don't want that, do you? You have to understand that fear isn't always right. The problem today is we often feel fear when we're not actually in any sort of danger. Your body reacts the same way to a speech as it would to a wild animal. So someone could say something to you which can put fear into you. And that fear and that scenario, should I say, that person said to you, that's the equivalent of a lion chasing you. And you said, is it? I said, yeah, of course it is. Because that's how the part of your brain reacts to certain stimuli. Fight or flight. You see, your body reacts the same way to speech as it would to a wild animal. But speech won't kill you. Words can't hurt you. But because we're reacting to them, we're feeling the feeling of fear. But we can stop that. We can create a separation and a conscious awareness that, wait a minute, they're just physical. They're not physical. It's just words that are vibrating. It's not a physical animal trying to rip my face off. There's nothing to be afraid of. Once you become consciously aware that it's just words, they have no power, there's no fear. True? True. And later on, I'm going to show you exactly how to reprogram yourself, recondition yourself to fear, no fear. Because you can do it. You can do anything you want. You see, the brain hasn't fully caught up with modern life. That's why fear can feel so strong, even when danger isn't real. And the thing is with that is that the mind makes it worse, because the brain doesn't react to what's in front of you. It reacts to what you think about. That's why most of us don't do what we want to do in life, because we care about what other people think. For example, I'm standing here filming this now in the woods, and there could be people, dog walkers, thinking, what's that weirdo doing? I could feel a level of fear and concern about what other people think, but because I'm aware of it, I don't care. This is where fear can grow. If you start thinking, what if I mess up? Or what if people laugh at me? Your brain believes that those thoughts and threats are real too, even though they're absolutely not. And you know this because it's just words. The more you think those scary thoughts, the more fear and the threat of fear will feel real to you. It becomes a loop spinning around. Thoughts, fear, more thoughts, more fear. It's like a broken bloody record. Right, let's look at it in this sense. How do we bloody overcome this fear? How do we get rid of it? Well, it's easier than you think once you understand. Now, here's some good news. You can learn to override fear. You can teach your brain and your body not to react the same way. Remember what I said? We were reacting, we weren't responding. There's a difference. Right, so let's break it down. Step number one, what you need to do is slow your breathing. Remember, when you're in a state of fear, you do rapid breathing. So do the opposite of it to get rid of it. Slow your breathing down. It's not that hard once you become consciously aware. Do it now. Do it now. Take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. You'll suddenly find yourself becoming a lot more calmer and tuned in to the present moment. And in the present moment, there is no fear. And the reason why that is because fear is an illusion. You see, when you're afraid, your breath gets fast and shallow. This tells your body that something is wrong. But if you slow your breathing down, you can send a new message to your brain, which is basically saying, I'm safe. Here's one. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try to breathe in slowly for 4 seconds and hold it for 4 seconds? Now try that. Breathe in for 4 seconds, then hold it for 4 seconds. And then breathe out for 4 seconds. What you'll find, like I've just done then, you'll suddenly become a lot more relaxed. And when you're in a relaxed state, there ain't no fear. Because the opposite of relaxed is panic. What's panic? It's a state of anxiety. What's anxiety? A state of fear. In other words, you think something terrifying is going to happen, but it ain't. And this is what you need to practice. Practice becoming present. Now, this is so simple, but extremely powerful. So you should try that. Try it all the time, 10 times a day, 20 times a day. Just keep practicing it. And then before you know it, you'll do it unconsciously. And then whenever fear tries to come into your life, you'll just be, right, I'm okay, move on. Another powerful tool that you could do, and these are really good tools, this is step number 2, which is talk to yourself differently. Your thoughts feed your fear, remember that. So change your thoughts. Now, I know some people say, well, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, you can, because you created your own thoughts. So create them again. Just create them into something else. In other words, change what you're thinking about. If you're thinking in a certain way, say, right, I don't like this thought, so I'm going to change it. And if you haven't got any positive thoughts to think, create them. That could be, nobody loves me. So tell yourself, everybody loves me. Now, there might be conflict in your mind. Your mind might be saying, but that's not true. No one loves me. But then you fake it till you make it. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. So it'll accept anything you tell it. So you might as well tell it a story if it's true or if it's not. It doesn't really matter because your subconscious is going to accept it because it doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. So tell yourself a positive story and eventually you'll start to bloody believe it. Again, you've got to be aware that your thoughts feed your fear. So change your thoughts. I keep repeating myself because our thought process is just habitual. We keep repeating the same thoughts over and over again, and then we eventually start to believe it. That's why I repeat myself to you, to recondition your mind and your brain, to reprogram your sense of self, because that's the only way you can do it. So instead of saying, I can't do this, try to say, I felt fear before and I've handled it. That takes on a different power, a different message, a different meaning. Another technique that you could try to do, which will definitely benefit you, is to remind yourself that fear is just a feeling. That's all it is. It can't stop you unless you let it. Don't bloody let it. You're the creator of your own reality. You can do anything you want. God made man in his own image. You're a creative being, but we forget that. We think things are happening to us, but they're not. They're happening through us. That means we're in bloody control. You like that, don't you? Because it's the truth. You should speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend who's scared. That's the problem. You would never treat someone the way you treat yourself. Because if you speak to yourself in a negative way all the time, would you ever speak to a little baby like that, a little child? You wouldn't. So why are you doing it to your bloody self? Now you might say, well, I can't help it, or I'm not aware of it. Yeah, you're not aware of it, but it doesn't mean you don't bloody do it. So you have to change your paradigm. Paradigm just means habitual way of thinking. You have to change the story. And if you change the story, the outcome of the story changes. This is true. This works. If you don't believe me, just bloody go and do it, and you'll soon find out exactly what will happen. Step number 3 would be face your fears in small steps. Now that's hard to do because we're afraid of fear, aren't we? That's why we avoid it. But again, to beat it, you have to face it. You have to face your fear. So the best way to beat fear is to face it, but in small steps. Let's say you're scared of public speaking, again as an example. You don't have to start off with a huge crowd and start speaking in front of a huge crowd. What you could start doing is start speaking to a friend or one person, or maybe then you build it up to a small group and slow down and feel the sensation of fear, but it'll pass, and there you go, let it go, small steps, and eventually you'll be giving speeches to thousands of people and it won't bother you. That's how you do it. If you ask any Toastmaster or public speaker, why did they become a public speaker? The truth probably is because they were shy, reserved, nervous, and then they built up the confidence and developed an ability to speak confidently and openly to large groups of people. And now they become so good at it, now they're bloody getting paid for it. And you could do the same thing too. You see, each time you face your fear, it gets smaller. Your brain starts to learn that this isn't dangerous and that your brain can actually handle this. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the more stronger you get. It's not bloody rocket science. This is how it works. Step 4 is to remember that you need to train your mind like a muscle. You can also build a fearless mindset through daily habits. So you could try this. Spend 5 minutes each day visualizing yourself being calm and confident. Write down one fear that you are faced with every day, no matter how small, and then try to overcome it. That could be making eye contact with someone, or smiling at a person or a stranger you don't know, engaging with someone that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. Instead of shying away and being all fearful, what you could do is approach that person and just give them a smile. Just by these little changes, make big changes. It's like building the pyramids. It didn't just happen. Someone placed the first block and then it became the pyramid that we see and enjoy right now. That's what you've got to do in life. Take small steps. Small steps. Rome wasn't built in a day. Step 5 is move your body. Movement is a great way to feel alive. And what it will do is reset the fear button. That's why when people are dancing, they usually dance because they're happy. It's hard to feel scared when you're dancing. If you ever look at certain tribes in Africa and places that aren't developed, what they tend to do is dance. They dance the problems away because they recognize by dancing, you're getting rid of that negative energy. In other words, fear, low vibrational energy, getting rid of it. So that's what you should do. Instead of watching Netflix and seeing what's going on in the world, which is usually negative, just have a dance, because that'll get rid of your problems. When people go on holiday, what do? They have a drink and they have something to eat, and what do? They have a dance. They have a good time, because motion is emotion. The more you move, the happier you feel. It's like me, I'm walking in the park now and it feels lovely. But if I sat down at home staring at the TV, feeling sorry for myself, I'm very quickly going to go into a low depression, because again, the more you move, the more you groove. Motion is emotion. The more you move, the happier you feel. Again, I know I repeat myself, but we have to keep doing this. When you feel afraid, try walking, stretching, or even shaking your hands. That's what animals do. If you ever watch two swans have a fight, what they'll do as soon as they've had a fight, they'll shake it off. It's like that song, shake it off, get rid of it. It's just energy. Fear is just energy building up. Shake it off, get rid of it. It's really that simple. You've got to understand that this helps, and it helps the stress levels that are building up in your body. Fear is basically energy, and moving helps you burn it off, get bloody rid of it. It ain't serving you. It's putting you in a state of stagnicity, which basically means it's stopping you from moving forward. You don't want that because you're a human being, and in life, what do you want to do? You want to expand, you want to grow, and you can't grow if you're terrified. It's very important to remember this, that you're not broken, you're just wired for safety. Remember, fear doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It just means your brain isn't doing its job properly and maybe a little too well, because we're creatures of habit. We do things habitually, and because you've been doing it for so bloody long, put yourself in a state of fear, you become very good at it. It's also important to remember that fearless doesn't mean no fear, because being fearless doesn't mean you never have to actually feel the sensation of fear. It means you don't have to fear so much. In other words, you don't have to let fear control your actions. It means you feel the fear and do it anyway. If you just think of anyone that you admire, they've all felt fear at some point in their life. And what makes them fearless is that they kept bloody going. They felt the fear, but they did it anyway. So there you go. Fear is just an illusion. And the reason why it's an illusion, because you can condition it, you can program it. If you felt any sort of level of fear in your life, you can change it because you put it there. I'm not saying it was you specifically, but for some reason that sense of fear is in your psyche somewhere. Now, the good news is you're in control of your mind. That means you can change your mind. And if you change your mind, you can change fear. In other words, you can get rid of it. So use these techniques and just see what happens. And put it in the comments below. Find out if it worked for you. Because I promise you, if you do what's been suggested in this video, that's exactly what will happen. And then you'll become fearless. Wouldn't that be nice?